I'm Dr. Jun.
I'm Dr. Isabel.
Today we have an incredible guest. Name is Nancy Tung. She is a systematic wellness coach with over 40 years of experience in allopathic and naturopathic and energy medicine. So she's a certified international brain-spotting trainer, consultant, as well as a medical constellation facilitator. So Nancy helps people shift from being victim of health circumstances to become empowered participants of wellness. That's amazing. Through her signature coaching program, and she called Life by Your Design. So please welcome the Nancy Tung. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Such an honor, Dr. Isabel and Dr. June.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much. So can you explain a little bit, how did you move from naturopathic, allopathic medicine and now into more just concentrating in the brain and how the mind and the body works?
All I can say, instead of life by your design, is probably life by God's design or universe design. I think that's what you two are very involved in, that accessing the quantum field. When I was going through it, I had no idea what I was going through. It just felt like one hurdle after another, one challenges after another. But, you know, all those challenges are catalysts for transformation. And they are the fuel that feeds our soul in so many different levels. And so the progression from purely traditional Western medicine to a point where my own anxiety, my own menopausal disability and physical health put me at a place where no allopathic could really help me. So that's, you know, how we are we're very stuck in our own pattern. So unless we're really hit against the wall, there's no way to go further. Then we turn around and look for options. And I'm no different. So I started looking into, very reluctantly, this woo-woo medicine, naturopathic medicine. So I was first a client, and then I became one of the members in the clinic. And that was where a lot of things happened. So I'm a late bloomer. I didn't start very young. My whole passion was really raising my daughters and learning a new culture where I didn't grow up in. I was born and raised in Asia, in Taiwan. So at the time, it felt like my life was put on a pause. I've learned everything new. But now when I look at it, it's so enriching. Without that, I wouldn't have this global mindedness. Because living in the East and also living in the West gave me that rich perspectives. So after working in the naturopathic clinic, learning so much about what Western medicines are not really geared to looking, even though I have a lot of respect for Western medicine, what they do for contribution to the humanity is just as powerful as the naturopathic or traditional medicine. It's just a different way of looking things. There's I think some things are better treated with one part, another is, but they're peas in the same pot. You know, it's just different way of accessing. So from there, I got in touch with something called a family system constellation. Again, it's from my own personal need of really wanting to, a word of it is to shake off the system burden that's being on the family system. And I don't know how. I was just being part of it, and just like in the river, I don't know how to be other than that. So with family system constellation, I started learning about the energies of the family system, which is very powerful. It affects every one of us in a very unconscious way. So it sits in the reptilian, the mammalian brain. And from there, I was exposed to Brainspotting, which is really utilizing all that I have learned into a neurological repatterning in the lower part of the brain instead of thinking through the neocortex. And how it is done is, and that change has made a tremendous difference. And then later I'll be talking about how Brainspotting works. But I just thought if there's anything else that you want me to say before we go into that, I'll be happy to.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. So basically, because the majority of people, including ourselves, we are always thinking. So using more our mind, not our intuition, and that is that subconscious mind. Will you Brainspotting? Do you access the subconscious mind?
Totally, instantaneously, spontaneously, organically. I'll give you a quick experiential, if you like.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I love it. And our listeners will love that. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So maybe I'll do a bit of neocortical, cognitive introduction first, so that the neocortex is on board. I got this brain model here, and this is a life-size brain, which is, when we look at it, it's pretty big. And then this is the cross-section of the brain. And then if I put it right against my head, this is really where right inside my skull, this is what's happening here. This is the structure. And this is the brain stem that goes down to the spinal cord. And so I wonder if you can see where my eyes are located. It's right here, right? This is the frontal cortex, right here behind my forehead. So if I turn around like this, my eyes will be sitting right there. And look at the structure of the brain. This is the brain stem, the reptilian brain, where how the neural tube started. And then gradually the mammals came, and then we have this limbic system. And the reptilian and mammalian brains were called a subcortex. And humanity, because we're so smart, we invent things we're logical. And so this is developing really extensively. Look at all the foes that humans have. However, we started here. So just like all trauma, we say, the trauma we're experiencing has trauma before and before and before, all the way to childhood, preverbal, intrauterine, and generational. So where are those things then? They are kept over here. So in the subcortex here. So look at the eye position being so close. It's like a direct contact into all this area. And if I open it up, this is a very well protected part of the brain. And with Brainspotting, we're able to access this part of the brain just through eye positions.
That is amazing. That's incredible. That makes total sense. And a lot of the things that what we see impact us, and it stays in our subconscious.
Totally. Absolutely. And that our eyes, our brain has 50% of the brain has this visual cells, because this is where how we protect ourselves. This is where our survival instinct comes. If there's a loud voice there, the first thing we go is that. So that is a reflex, and Brainspotting utilize that reflex. And we can't dissect the brain, but we can, through the reflex of the eyes, access the brain deeply inside. So we harness that power and then utilize it in healing clients, ourselves first, all with ourselves first, right? And then when we increase that capacity, and then we exude that capacity in our energy field, and then people, person to person, is where it really is one. I think you two are very versed in that field. You will understand what I'm talking about. Yeah,
we're all connected. We're all one.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So let's go to an experiential. Maybe I'll give you an expression. You see how my eye, as I'm thinking about experiential, where my eyes went right away. It's like I'm accessing part of the brain that I want to have that information. So gaze spotting.
It's just like NLP, correct? Like neuro-linguistic programming, and how we see the different patterns that people have. So if they're lying, they're looking at a different area than when they're telling the truth.
Exactly. Yes.
They know, learn, okay, where are they? When I ask you a question, where are you looking? Are you looking to the right? Are you looking to the left? Are you looking down? Those are key patterns that the eyes follow, depending on what part of the brain we're accessing.
Exactly. That's so true. So for you to experience, and your audience to experience, brain spotting, and how the reflex is so fast, it's like milliseconds, with the this part of the brain works 10 times faster than this. So if I say hi to you here, I will be saying hi. That's how fast this is, So it was more of a demo. So the 10 times is really a lot more. So maybe come up with something concrete. Think about the first time you went on a bicycle ride. Can you recall that experience? Yeah. Okay. Right away, I can see Dr. Isabel went into somewhere in her brain because your eyes shifted. So then maybe another example. Think about the first time you took the airplane.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I can see more obvious from Dr. Isabel's eyes right away. And Dr. June is a little bit different, but everybody's brain works differently. It doesn't mean that it's good or bad, it's just different. So we utilize this response for healing trauma and also for expansion. I had a lot of performance anxiety. I wouldn't be talking to you like this. I would be preparing my script like a month from beforehand and memorize it, because that fear is came from really a lot of childhood trauma of having to perform, having to take tests, not meeting expectations. So those had to get out of the way in order to become the way I am. I can just, and you too, you can talk and be yourself in front of the camera. So taking care of the trauma as a way to expansion. So our brain can take us there as well. I was going to say something about using this as a way. Again, I went there. It's a different way, as I talked about how to help people with trauma. And what is trauma? Let's define that first. Trauma is not about only about war, only about serious accidents. Trauma means that anything that you feel like your nervous system cannot handle. It's overwhelming, too much for your nervous system to handle at that time. So in that sense, it can be being bullied at school for children, or not for teenagers, not look good enough, the hair is not long enough, curly enough, whatever that teenagers are stuck in. Or it can be as serious as that a car accident, and then ever since then they can't not drive anymore because it's stuck in here, right? So the range can be very small. You can still live, you can still function to a point where you cannot function anymore, cannot drive, or things like that. So I'm going to stop talking and let you interject a little bit.
So then you were saying, so what we just think about something, let's say there is a trauma, right? So then we'll just think about something. So what would you do as a therapy to heal this person that has a trauma, that had something traumatic in their childhood?
Yes.
So they'll just kind of bring themselves to that moment and think about it. So their eyes goes to one area. So what would be the next steps?
Very good.
I mean, just transforming and then healing.
Very good. There are different methods, and I'm going to show you some tools, and then I'm going to give you another experiential. So the tools we have is either just observing where the eye goes reflexively, or we use pointers to lock that eye position. And the pointers can be, I usually let my client choose, can be this, or can be a bit more pronounced tip, or can be this, for expansion. A client says, I want to expand to this person, I want magic happening. So this magic wand has Tinkerbell in it. Or for children or teenagers, or we do a child part, a full-grown adult in the 50s or 60s has a part that's very fearful, and then the part chose a bunny, or the part would choose a frog. So this can be we can access the parts of us using different props, or just this plain pointer. Oh, there's another one that's portable, very small. That's what when I travel, this is always in my bag, because I start doing this on the plane. If there's something that's bothering me, I get onto a brain spot, either gazing or I bring out my pointer and I start processing through. So I don't have to hold it in my brain anymore. Talking about physical pain is pressure. It's a pressure that's not, you cannot weigh it really on the scale, but the body knows. Whatever the brain dissociates from, the body takes it up on it. So that leads to our, maybe later on we'll talk about systemic pressure from the family system. So anyway, the experiential of using either a gaze spot or a pointer is the same principle. In brain spotting, we say where you look affects how you feel. So let's start with this. Think about something that is somewhat bothersome to you.
In the body?
In the body, it can be in the body, can be a relationship, can be a professional, can be anything. Just something that's really right in front of you, you've been thinking for a long time. And then you notice how your body feels as you think about that. And you also feel how activated you are, how stressed or stressed or distressed about it. You can give it a level from 0 to 10. So have you got it? Have you got that issue? Okay. So now I'm going to invite you to look into the right side of your room. Just take your look there. Yeah. And notice how that issue feels to you in your body. Just sit with that issue for a little while. And then gradually bring your eyesight right in front, straight in front of you. And notice how you feel about that issue. And if you're going to rate it, what that rating would be. And then you can bring your eyes to the opposite side of your room. Yeah. And again, assess how that issue is impacting you. How is it different? Okay. So could you just share a little bit about your experience?
So when I was looking at the right, it was probably about a 6. And it was, so I felt it on my chest. When I was looking in front of me, it was maybe a 2. It wasn't as intense and I didn't have any body feeling or sensation. When I was looking on the left, it was more intense, kind of like my chest was contracting. It was kind of like an 8.
Wow. Huge difference.
So mine was I think when you're looking at like about 5, went to the right, went down to 3, and then went to left, went up to 7. So the left was more intense.
Both of you are left more intense. Yeah, yeah. Just imagine, Dr. Jung, you do ART, the muscle testing, utilizing eye position, very precise eye position. You're accessing that part of the brain that associates with the issue that you are muscle testing for. How powerful that would be and how precise that would be for the remedies that you're choosing to prescribe. I was just thinking about that today. I thought, wow, that will be precision plus and plus.
Advice, the technique, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So this tagline that in Brainspotting, where you look affects how you feel, gives us the entryway to the subcortex. And because our body feels so differently with the different directions, we can utilize it. I can say to Dr. Isabel, well, let's process that issue that you're talking about. And maybe you like to choose either your right or the middle or the left. And for some people who are really says, I just want to get to it, and they will probably choose the left. But others like maybe, oh, I'm so scared that I don't know what can of worms I'm going to be opened up. Then you give them that choice to be in the middle. We can even be even more precise to the point we find that exact spot. They can say, oh, right there, right there, right there. So this brain spot, when I hold this pointer for the client, as the client's processing, it's like I'm holding that trauma file for him or for her. And that trauma file just connects to the brain, and then it starts working and working. And then it can start releasing. So any trauma work to be effective has to be a bottom-up approach. Has to process here, come up here, says, oh, the neocortex says, oh, no wonder I've been feeling this or that. I can understand now, because when I was younger, I had to do this and that, and then now I'm still carrying that. Now I realize it. Then it evaporates, comes out. Whereas sometimes the talk therapy, we talk, and talk. but it doesn't get down here. And we can talk again, and then for 10 years, decades, lifetime, and it's still not really released. Because the connection, it has to have some kind of connection. If there is a connection, but people still heal really from psychotherapy, from analysis, from talk therapy. Most of it's come from relational. The part, I trust you. I trust you being my doctor. I trust you that you can help me. That trust brings that hope. It's that relational part that does the healing. And Brainspotting as that aspect of the relationship together with the neurobiological. So it's like stacking up one after another. Then that healing become much more sustained and deeper, and then later on become spiritual, because healing is nothing but a spiritual experience.
Yeah. Well, so that's in the, so basically you are helping the patient become conscious of that subconscious trauma.
Yes.
And then so what happens when for example, if somebody wants to, okay, I want to attach to this more aggressive feeling, or more,
yes,
the higher range of the emotion, then what do you do when they're there? Or what do they have to do to be able to clear and then just kind of evolve from that trauma?
Okay, so you just mentioned about two aspects: how to evolve from the trauma into something higher, more expansive, create possibilities. I think oftentimes we think in opposites, in extremes. Trauma and expansion and possibility, but they are actually always like this, right? They're not separate. However, we can separate them in the brain spotting process. Is start to find expansive brain spot, the brain spot that you would. I just did that yesterday for someone who's been on the path for a long, long time. And then I connect her with herself 5 years from now. And she already knows what she wants to be. And I do too, and you do too. Every one of us have that vision of who we want to be. Usually it's being very confident, want to be authentic, and want to have also calm. Most people are very anxious these days. I'm no exception. So want to have that sense of regulation, nervous system regulation, want to have good relationship, want to have a good profession where they feel satisfied in, and that spiritual connection. So this life feel very fulfilling. Everybody wants that, but they use different languages. So perhaps Dr. Isabel and Dr. June, think about who you are striving to be. And just in your own way, choose a few adjectives. And then visualize yourself being there already. Just go right ahead. And just notice, just allow yourself to go. Just truly visualize. You can, your eyes naturally want to go somewhere to see that vision of you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go. And I'm going to ask you to process from there on. And notice how your body's feeling. And notice that you in 5 years. What is it that you see in her and in him? And notice how your body feels. as you're in touch with that part of you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That expansion of the heart, right? Yeah, yeah. Anything else that you want to say of that experience for you?
I love my future.
Mm-hmm. And that's that image that comes through becomes a blueprint, because we can, with a blue, like the sun is always there, but we can, our pathway can be so winding and so unpredictable, but we know that sun is like the lighthouse. It gives us that direction. So that image serves that direction in our brain. So anytime that you want to recall that image, just put your eyes on that spot, because that image already downloaded into your field. So you can close your eyes, be there, or open your eyes and gaze at that particular spot. And then more and more and more will come through. So that leads us to neuroplasticity, because all this is about making changes of the neuronal networks in our brain. We're not firing the same as before. I'm not good enough. I can never achieve what I wanted to. Or somebody's blocking my way. If he or she does that, allow me this or that, I would be a different person. So that neuroplasticity is through working with the subcortical part of the brain. Yeah. And with that, what happens is neurogenesis. Our brains start to, our bodies start to relax. Then the cortisol is not released so much anymore. And the cerebellum and the hypothalamus can start regenerating cells instead of from the shrinking state, become bigger and bigger and more alive for us. So many beautiful, wonderful things are happening inside of us, around us, and all over us, because you two are game changers. You're transformers. So whatever you do, it ripples out, and I know that's your purpose. And there's nothing maybe more important than that. So you find your way, and then I find there's no separate ways, really. We're all the same, even with Brainspotting, EMDR, NLP, and internal family system. They're all really the same, just having different lenses looking into one big picture. Yeah.
Well said, isn't it? Just how you access that, maybe certain access point is more resonate for people, right? And then other access is better. So we all have to expand the awareness of this, existing of this technique, and it keep improving. This is so amazing what you have. Could you tell us about what type of the symptoms or the issues that people have major challenges they have come to see you, or somebody who does the Brainspotting practice?
Yeah, I think both of you are very versed in the healing profession, so you know that what we offer is not just one modality; it's all our experiences. So I do use Brainspotting, but it's integrated into many other modalities that I've learned, and especially the personal experience. So people who come to me are usually the ones who want to make changes in their lives. And want to feel more themselves, and they want to dissolve barriers for moving forward. And some come for physical challenges, more on the physical level, but we all know it's all connected: physical, emotional, psychological, everything, energetic, is all really part of the whole. but I think each one of us have a kind of an opening for people to come in. So I do a lot of family systems that they feel trapped in, but yet they feel they need to belong. Like we belong to a family system, regardless you like it or not. We're born, right? We're born into a certain continent, born into a certain race, born into a certain sex, born into a family. And a family system is where we grew and where we learn from and where we get our resources from, and also our biggest challenges. So what do you do with that? I think this feels like a lesson that's given by the universe, because each one of us could not have survived or even been in existence without being in a family system. But why is it such a huge trauma or burden for many people? Perhaps, this is just my thinking, it is a school, earthly school, to learn deeper lessons, such as detachment, such as boundaries, such as patience, such as love. The love in a way that's more mature rather than childlike, because we all want a parent that's different from what we have right now. We want a parent this and that, loving, kind, have no previous traumas, always there for us, unconditional, feed us, house us, and everything. But oftentimes we deal with the child part of the parents. They've already done their best. Neocortically, yeah, they've done their best. We know that. But subcortically, there's always a child in us wanting more from our parents. And we're dealing with the child part in us, and we're dealing with the child part in our parents. So either side is not good enough.
That is so true. And what I have studied with dental decoding, when we start decoding what the messages that the teeth have, a lot of it is transgenerational. Is imprinted in our DNA, these traumas from the family, from our ancestors. So it makes sense of what you're talking about. We don't have only our baggage, we have also the baggage of our parents, our ancestors. So then you help people transform and just be okay with the family that they belong to. Do you have any, like a story that you can talk to us or share with us about a client or a patient that had an amazing transformation?
I love to share that. There are so many that I think some I can remember better than others, but I can always share my own, because this is my path. I've been on this journey all my life. I remember being in my early 20s, I've already started off this journey in a very undefined way, and gradually kind of hones in, and then to become more solidified. This is a journey of growth and development. I think we as human beings, we have our cycles of growth and development. Toddlers, and then school age, teenage and young adults, and then adults. And with adults, we have cycles too, right? Working stage and menopausal stage, mid-age life, and then later on, older age. And in our family system, it has cycles as well. That as we see our parents, young and robust, to when they're older and they're fragile, And generational, we see cycles as well. Those who had to go to the war versus those who, well, in recent history, there has not been really calm periods. It's all wars, really. Maybe the younger ones, the parents grew up in post Second World War, and their parents are haven't gone to the war, but their parents went to Second World War, and their parents went to First World War, and before that there was some other wars. So when we look at this history of the recent 100 or 200 years, really there's a lot of wars being fought. So even though I did not experience wars, but because my parents did, and their behavior were affected by the wars. So my my upraising was raised by traumatized parents. And they were raised by even more traumatized parents. They were poor, literally dirt poor. And there was so much immigrations going on because of poverty, starvation, and political persecutions. So we all have all this in us, but how do we transform and be really who we are? Recently, I did a case on young Asian female. She is aware enough that she's carrying generational trauma, even though there was nothing that she personally experienced. But however, through brain spotting, she was able to visualize something that's in the field. I know you talk a lot about the field of someone she does not know, but it came through on a brain spot. That person, it has something to do with the Cultural Revolution in China, where your home was not safe, your parents were not safe, the parents were not safe from their children. There is just chaos upon chaos upon chaos. And she accessed that energy and was able to feel in her all of a sudden that there's a different timeline, whereas before she felt that all the time. And through brain spotting, there was a sense, okay, that happened before. I am living this time and this age. And then as she communicate with that person, which is a symbolic of that age, that person told her that I want you to live. I want you to live fully. And she was able to receive that as a gift rather than feeling wanting to take over her healing. Because that person certainly have died and had gone on to the spiritual world. That's her growth. But because we're so connected in blood and in this energy field, that it's easy to take it on thinking it's ours subcortically, right? So with brain spotting and systemic thinking, that she was able to separate the two and when I saw her again, she's thinking about starting her own business. Whereas before, just the thought about opening her business was just terrifying because she was unconsciously taking up the energy of that unresolved issue in China that's really plaguing still millions upon millions of people right now.
Oh, that's incredible. That's good. And that's one of the millions of stories that they're out there with people doing brain spotting. That's
yes. And family system constellation. Yeah, merging the two fields seems so powerful in that sense.
so organic too. Also, that's that have to connect. Exactly.
Yes. We all have a brain. We all have a mother. We all have a father. So there you go. Can I say that I have a brain-spotting training coming up?
Okay,
absolutely.
please.
Yeah. Phase 1 in August. I'm doing a phase 2 training in a couple of weeks, and it's for Asia Pacific. So anybody around the Asia Pacific rim, U.S., South America, North America, and also a lot of Asian countries are attending. And because of my background is in the health field, so there are a lot of health field professionals are also attending. So my dream really one day is to have more and more health professionals realizing what they're treating has a lot more neurobiological roots and trauma-based, where they can access through brain spotting.
Oh, perfect. That will be amazing if everybody that is practicing health, that are health practitioners, can learn more about this.
Yes,
it will be so awesome.
Yeah.
I think the clinical results will be just quadrupled or tenfold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have like 3 wisdom pearls that you can share with people, what they can do to improve their health and their life?
First and foremost is a spiritual connection of something a lot bigger and greater, and that's eternal, and that is always there for us. There's nothing bigger, more important than that. So it could be in a form of nature, could it be in a form of faith or religion or tradition. Whatever that feeds your soul is of prime importance, because that never goes away, right? Yeah. Another would be community, a sense of community, feeling that you belong and that you're not left alone, you're not left out. A lot of our issues are because we feel we don't belong. And that's where this family system comes in. It started from there. And the third would be
self-love.
Love, love, self-love, and love for humanity. Compassion. It's great. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely.
No, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. See you later. Take care. Yeah.